Millie, you ready? James is on Zoom. Nick? Okay, great. Great. Thank you guys for joining. Alrighty, unfortunately, Martha Ball is on her way. Her dog took a little bit of a left turn out of the property, so I'm now assuming it's taking longer than we expected, but she'll be here in a minute. So I apologize, but I don't, we need to end this meeting at 6:30, and I don't want to take up and lose time. For those who don't know, my name is Sven Riesum, Second Warden. I wanted to welcome and thank you guys for coming. We thank the hundreds of people, and I do mean that, that have written emails, texts, or called us regarding the mopeds on Block Island. Please know that we hear you. Goal of this meeting is to listen. This will be the end of sort of the speaking part when I'm done. Based on the advice of our solicitors, we are not going to get into a discussion or debate of any facts. Given this, we ask you to recognize that no response or reply is not an agreement to the previous speaker. It's just no response. And so we want to just make sure that you understand sort of our job and our role here. We also want to thank everybody for their input for tonight. I think today I met at least 12 people at work who had opinions about this subject. So always good. This is a very passionate subject. We please know that the town council is working hard to further improve health and safety here on the island on this subject and on other critical subjects that seem to have come to light. I also want to make sure that everyone realizes that many of the parameters regarding mopeds are framed by federal, yes, federal, and state regulations. The town cannot just make changes. There is a process, and that process is already underway and has been underway, but will continue so. While many people in emails have sort of started, this is the time, exclamation, 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 or it is time to act, quadruple exclamation. Please know that there's a long process for any changes that can be allowed. We want to hear from you. We want to learn. We want to learn about new ideas, and we really appreciate it. In an effort to keep some sanity, what we're going to do, Tom already mentioned, we'll have a sign-up list. I've already got the first 11 speakers. We will do a couple of other sign-up lists. If you want to say more, please sign up again. But the goal would be to have everybody be able to speak at least once. My request is, and this is going to be hard, my request is please don't repeat an earlier speaker, but acknowledge them. So if Mark said something I agree with, rather than go through a minute and a half of repeating the same thing, just say, I really agree with Mark, and let me add one thing. That would just help everybody in the process, and we appreciate that. We also ask that you keep your comments to 2 minutes. And again, that's all about just trying to make sure everybody has a chance. I mentioned before that we'll end at 6:30. And that's because we have a 7 o'clock meeting that will start for the town council. For the 2 minutes, I will, or actually we'll have sort of a timer going. I'll mention it. Obviously, we don't want to be jerks, but if you hear a timer, then please think about wrapping up. Last thing, and it's an obvious thing, I guess, is I ask everybody to remain civil and respectful. I know people are frustrated about mopeds. I know there's great fears and concerns, and we all share that passion, but please realize that everybody in this room is sort of on the same side of the coin, and we're all just trying to figure out how to make things, how to improve health and safety, let me put it that way. With that, before we open it up to speakers, James or Nick, our town solicitors, for those who don't know, we did change town solicitors about 4 months ago. We are very, very happy with the new team. 2 of them are on the phone. They couldn't be here today just because of some logistical issues with a meeting on Monday, and they're working hard on that meeting on Monday. But they did possibly want to say anything. James, do you want to speak up?
Yes, thank you, Sven. Hope everyone's doing well. James Callahan, one of your town solicitors. Just want to emphasize what Sven had relayed to you earlier, that it's at the advice of council that this is a listening session for the council. We're advising the council not to engage in any back and forth. due to various cases and pending litigation. So we'd ask that you respect that on both the council side and that the public has understanding of that, because we are working toward moving this whole issue forward, and we're hoping that this listening session helps the council do that as well as us.
Thank you very much, James. So with that, yes, I said Autumn took a left turn. Autumn and Martha are still alive. First speaker on the list is Sarah Bacon. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't worry, your 2 minutes haven't started. Make sure the green light is on. And if you can state your name, these are all being recorded just so we have it on record. State your name, that would just be helpful for documentation. Thank you. Go ahead, Sarah. Thank you.
I'm Sarah Bacon, founder of Respect BI, a group organized to promote community safety and ensure the sustainability of our unique island culture. Our primary issue since 2020 has been moped rental operations, which are in dire need of reform. So we're grateful for this time that Town Council has dedicated to community input on the subject. Tonight, I'd like to present to our Town Council a petition signed by over 1,500 people. Individuals all urging our local elected officials to work with the state legislators to rewrite the state statute regarding mopeds, which currently supersedes New Shoreham's capacity to use home rule to implement new common sense moped safety measures. These signatures include many property owners on Block Island, voters, visitors, business owners, fans of Block Island, all individuals asking for true, lasting moped reform.
If you can give it to Millie, that'd be great. Thank you.
Those signatures were collected online through change.org, 983 online, and on paper, the difference. I'm also submitting to you a list of Respect BI's top line recommendations for moped reform, the first three of which I'll share now. Make license fees for moped operators commensurate with the economic cost of moped incidents and emergency off-island flights to Block Island essential services, including medical center, police department, and rescue squad. Ban all moped training, demonstrations, and practice from town roads and require set activities on contained private properties. Implement evidence-based moped driver education and testing on an annual basis before being eligible to rent, and ban tandem moped riding. We have several other recommendations which I will submit to all of you and also via email to you, Millie. And I'll leave it to other community members and colleagues. Thank you again for having this event.
Thank you, Sarah, very much. Tony, I apologize. Could you say your name so that I don't mess it up and in the microphone? Thanks so much, sir.
Good evening. My name is Tony Kronman. 8 years ago, my wife and I bought a home on Block Island after vacationing here with our children for more than 30 years. We love the island's natural beauty and its spirit of community. It is now our permanent home. I have been an enthusiastic supporter of Respect Block Island since its formation 2 years ago. The focus of the group has been on moped reform, but we have said from the start that this issue must be viewed in a wider context. The large challenge that faces us all is protecting the culture of Block Island, its neighborliness and sense of shared pleasure in a place that values family life, civility, and the enjoyment together of the island's singular environment. That this challenge is large and urgent and bigger than mopeds alone was made clear for all the world to see on August 8th. But if the problem is bigger than mopeds, they are a real and worsening part of it. The irresponsibility of the operators and of many of those who rent from them have together contributed to a dramatic degradation of island culture in the past several years. Indifferent and in some cases aggressive law breaking has become the norm. The town's interests and values of all who live or vacation here are disregarded, sometimes with a curse or a raised finger. Mopeds have become the instruments for transmitting the behavior that we see at its worst at Ballards to every corner of the island. It has to stop. Respect Block Island has worked hard to gather facts about the costs of moped abuse and has made a number of carefully considered recommendations for changes to the current regime. We have shared these with the council in a spirit of collaboration. We recognize that negotiations with the operators to establish a new agreement must be conducted in private, but we will be profoundly disappointed if what emerges is a reaffirmation of the status quo or a trivial adjustment to it. The town has all the legal flexibility it needs to do much more than this, and we are confident it will rise to the occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tony. Lisa Sprague.
My name is Lisa Sprague, and I'm no stranger to this issue. I think I'm the dinosaur here. As we await the next moped accident and wonder if this could be the next preventable fatality, we ask the question, why has nothing changed? Last summer's brief but positive push on enforcement left on the boat with Chief Moynihan. This summer shows a tremendous backslide to everything we fought so hard to correct. Helmetless heads, open-toed shoes, small children in front and back of drivers, driving on dirt roads, hundreds of stops at the liquor store, constant videography while in motion, incessant, and I mean incessant, horn beeping, more foul language than anyone cares to hear, and complete disregard for traffic laws. The frequency and severity of accidents appears to be no less. Aren't mopeds considered motor vehicles? If mopeds were cars, and those cars documented the same amount of accidents with injuries, from road rash to death, you can bet that there would have been state and local intervention to mitigate that situation by now. I could go on, but you've heard this story from me for close to 40 years. Since this time, right now, is your opportunity to make some thoughtful sweeping changes in the interest of public safety. I'm offering you an outside of the box solution for consideration, and basically it is this. Utilize the vacant land at the airport and base all of the moped businesses in one place. Have the moped businesses solicit their business in town and shuttle their prospective customers to and from the airport location, similar to off-site car rentals at airports. Have a standardized training area where every potential driver receives the exact same training. This accomplishes a number of things, and I'll highlight only two. Insecure neophyte drivers are not turned out on the congested chaos of town, giving them some time to get their bearings on less crowded roads. It also removes the fuel storage hazard, which is the potential catalyst for the preventable fire we all live in fear of, that fire that threatens the entire town when our finite resources are depleted and mutual aid is an hour or more away. As you, the council, grapple with engineering a very major shift in how this island community is promoted and managed, please do not turn a deaf ear to the public outcry, and please be receptive to those that are willing to help you. To paraphrase the immortal refrain from the 1976 movie Network, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take this anymore.
Thank you, Lisa. Elliot Nurnberg.
Good afternoon. My name is Elliot Nuremberg. I've been coming to Block Island for 45 summers, and I've owned a house here for 39 years. For the last 8 years, my wife and I spent from May through October here. Block Island was named a while ago as one of the last great places on earth, and we all revel in its beauty, its nature, and unspoken culture of safety. All businesses, including moped operators, should be held to a standard that reflects the character, norms, and values of Block Island. Instead, the moped operators have challenged everything we love about this place, littering the roads with loud, unsafe, and cavalier riders. They have poisoned the island for everyone who wants to peacefully cycle or walk the roads, go for a jog, visit our beaches, and/or support local businesses. There has been an obvious, to use the same word Tony used, I didn't know he was going to use that word, degradation of our previously bucolic culture tied directly to the moped business. Every year when the moped operators apply to the town council for a license, one of the criteria in order to have the license being granted is their past safety history. Given the growing numbers of moped-related infractions and injuries, the town is not applying a stringent enough standard to those criteria. The town needs to come up with quantifiable and tangible metrics along with proper monitoring. The new safety standards need to be strictly enforced by the town. For example, if a threshold number of riders go on dirt roads or remove their helmets or are found driving under the influence, this should result in an immediate revocation of the operator's license. And I don't mean the renter's license, I mean the moped owner's license. Also, with today's technology, there are opportunities to use GPS tracking, fleet tracking, what's called geofencing, to provide the data necessary for the operators to be held accountable. For example, if someone goes down a dirt road, the ping from their individual moped would go to an organization that the moped operators pay for, but monitored by the town so they don't control it, and so that enforcement can be had. If the moped operators want to continue doing business on this island, there needs to be a swift and strong pivot that prioritizes safety. All businesses have a responsibility to abide by the rules. The moped operators have failed to self-impose standards for the best interests of their customers and the rest of us, the public at large. And the moped operators should be no exception to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Hagedorn.
Thank you guys so much for having this hearing. I am a doctorally prepared nurse and my specialty is safety and education. Most of the issues that we know exist could be addressed through education. We know that the training that people who rent mopeds get is, well, let's not even call it education, is woefully inadequate to safely drive, no less safely know the roads, know what the rules are, know what not to do. How many times have we heard, I just didn't know that I couldn't go down this road. I just didn't know. Or how many times did we hear from people who had crashes? I never drove one of these things before. I didn't know. We can, and it needs to be, as Lisa said, universal, provide an education for those who are renting, and all together where every single operator has the same education and the town funded by the operators can provide that education. And the skills and knowledge need to be tested. It's not enough. We've all been down Weldon's Way and watched the person wiggling down the road and you have somebody running beside them. And it's like when we taught our kids how to ride a two-wheeler and we're like, look, she can ride. Well, guess what? She's riding something that is incredibly dangerous and hard to operate. So I beg you to develop an effective safety education, not just check off the mark, oh, we're doing safety education, because that's easy to do. You have a video, people sit in front of the video, they take a 3-question questionnaire, they pass it, and off they go. We can't do that. We, and again, paid for by the operators, need to provide a good education that will provide safety to those of us who are here on the island, and frankly, mostly to the people who rent the mopeds, that we can say that we have done our best. And please let's understand that education does and will matter, and let's do it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Next is Everett Shorey.
Thank you. I'm Everett Shorey. We have owned a house on Cornet Road for 30 years. I'm here on behalf of Respect BI to remind you that we have done a number of analyses that we have, I believe, submitted to the town council. But if they're not around, we would be more than happy to submit them again. We've done an economic analysis of the island. We have done a survey of hotel owners on the way that their customers have used transportation, and we have done an extensive evaluation of 5 years worth of police traffic statistics. That unfortunately ended we have not done 2021. We'd be happy to include that in our data. We've also talked to the medical center about trying to combine that data. It takes some work to do that. In the same way, it would take some work to include and integrate the data from the rescue squad. And one of the things that I would urge you to do is get an intern or someone who can come and work with all 3 of those organizations to integrate their data. We at Respect BI would be more than happy. We can't do that work, but we'd be more than happy to assist and provide supervision or any other thing to that such an intern. The one thing we have not done is an economic analysis of the moped industry. I don't know whether you have one, but you should certainly do that. We would be, again, happy to work with you on that. It would be, we think, very important for you to understand their economics so that, and as others have mentioned, the economic effects on the island of the stress on the medical center, the police, and other things, to understand what the economic availability and consequences are. We remain very open to work with you on that if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Everett. Scott Oren.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Oren, Peckham Farm Road. I've owned our house there since 2010. I've been visiting Block Island since 1989. First, to just by reference, incorporate all the comments and show support for the people who come before me, and thank you for listening. I join my neighbors in Respect BI because my wife and I are very concerned about the future of Block Island, like all of us here. And you've heard many of those concerns, and I'd like to share another one. First, I hope that you will avail yourself of the particular expertise there is here on the island. By way of example, I myself, for the last 40 years, have been involved professionally in one way or another studying the relationship between land use and traffic. We have other people who are lawyers. But I just want to talk to you about traffic particularly. Block Island's roadways are getting more crowded. They're more chaotic. They're more dangerous with every summer season. There's increased mainland marketing and social media bringing more day trippers. The low cost of vehicle rates on the ferry encourage people to bring their cars. And there's been this proliferation of larger vehicles, trucks and SUVs. This traffic mix is often deadly on our narrow roads, with fearful pedestrians and cyclists like myself. And most relevantly here, of course, often inexperienced moped renters, some of whom partake in the alcoholic beverages that are readily available on the ferry and in our bars and pubs. As an aside, just yesterday, I saw 4 men on mopeds, bobbing and weaving, no helmets, no shoes, no sense, maybe no hands on the handlebars. I clocked them going 38 miles an hour down Old Town Road. Respect BI commissioned, underwrote, and previously shared with you a preliminary study completed by Nelson Nygaard, a nationally known mobility consultant. Quite succinctly, they found that the design of Block Island's roadways just don't match the way they're used. This has often serious and deadly consequences. On some roads, mopeds make up 17% of the traffic in peak hours. So I urge you to reread the study, follow its recommendations, and fund and complete the follow-up studies that were suggested. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott. Molly Nolan.
Hi, Molly Nolan. Thank you for holding this forum, and I'm just here to express concern. The issues with mopeds affect us every single day of the busy season, which is the season that, so sorry, the microphone's scary. The season that so many of us, so many people come out to enjoy, and enjoy the peace and safety that an island like this can provide. Weekly, I see riders speeding down dirt roads or see them attempting to pass cars. I see them ditch their helmets, take selfies, and live stream while driving, see them ride 2, 3, 4 riders wide in the road. I've even seen them ride down the center of the yellow lines in the road. I see them endanger their child passengers, which is really scary. Hear them beep their horns incessantly. From moped riders, I have seen abuse, disrespect, and disregard for everything this island is so loved for, and it hurts. It hurts the rules are not there or the rules do not apply. Who can I call to report these incidences and where there's an actual response with consequences? Respect Block Island has provided the town with a wealth of meaningful data. They've done very thorough work from what I understand, and people here tonight, along with the nearly 1,400 plus signers of the Respect Block Island petition, would like to see their voices matter. Thank you.
Maybe quell the clapping. Not out of enthusiasm, but just out of my ears. No, Mary Anderson, please. Thank you, Molly.
Hi, thanks for having us and thanks for hosting tonight. Just gonna look for this on my phone. I don't know why it's not there. Can you hear me now? So afraid of that beeping. Thanks for hosting and thanks for this forum and for your work on this issue that demands so much of your leadership and time. We're aware of that and we appreciate it. For the record, my name's Mary Anderson. I own the Glass Onion in town. And I support the work of Respect Block Island also and their commitment to gathering accurate data and sharing that accurate data in a collaborative way, as other people have said tonight. I guess I have questions like of how do we continue that collaboration for the health and safety of the island? And one of the things that comes to mind is that collaboration is what we do so well on Block Island. So I don't necessarily have new ideas to give you, but just from a business point of view in town, I have more concerns. Like our customers are not coming to town as much as they used to. And when they do come, they readily admit that they're not coming because, as other people have said here tonight, there's just a level of disrespect from people on mopeds. Even if we step out of the shop to admonish them and remind them they have to share this space with other people on the road and to be respectful, to have a good time, but be respectful of other people, they're very belligerent and often turn with lots of fanfare and gesturing and comments that are a little disheartening to hear. You know, we've heard it all, but when there are kids around, it's really disturbing. So, you know, other people have talked about that tonight, about the riding in tandem and still beeping their horns excessively and just being, just not sharing this space in a way where most of us do share that space when we're out here, of being peaceful and being respectful to other people. And it's just very concerning. And I just appreciate your time on this and respect's work on this, and would just again say it's a very important issue of our time. So I hope you do the best you can. I know you will, because other islands are watching, and we don't want to fail. So thank you. And it never came up on my phone.
Tracy, thank you, Mayor. Tracy Fredericks.
No, my name is Tracy Fredericks. I'm a year-round resident and captain of the rescue squad. So a lot of what I was going to say tonight has already been said. As Lisa mentioned, decades later, here we are having this conversation over again. So obviously, with this opportunity, hopefully we can make some changes that will benefit everybody. And over the last couple of years, there have been a lot of meetings like this talking about improving the safety of mopeds in the island. And over again, I've talked about, the accidents from my perspective, from what I've seen as a member of the rescue squad. And, I don't want to go over that again and again. I know we all probably get that people do really get hurt on these, on mopeds. And it's really difficult for everybody involved, for the first responders and for the victims. There's no denying that. Often that's a trip that was a fun trip to Block Island is cut short because, they got injured and have to leave. And as somebody else mentioned earlier, it's always the same response. Oh my God, I had no idea. I had no idea this could be so dangerous. I can't believe this happened. And we don't want that happening. It's not how people want to experience Block Island. I mean, the reality is the majority of our visitors that rent mopeds are inexperienced. They don't realize, how difficult they may be to maneuver. They wear inappropriate footwear, as has been mentioned. They don't wear their helmets, some do, but some don't, and that could make a huge difference if there's ever an incident. They have a brief training, and after that, they're put onto our, they're expected to safely maneuver our roads that are already pretty much overcrowded this time of year. Very hilly, curvy, sandy. They're difficult to maneuver. I've heard some people say it's like a novice skier, first time going on a double black diamond course and expecting to, fare well. It's not for novices. The other thing I want to talk about is the emotional toll it takes on all of us. Every spring when you hear that first moped beep and hum, it kind of brings this sense of, here we go again. And it really does take a lot out of everybody. I've heard countless stories about how they hate hearing that, and just the fact that it's we know what's coming. We lose our sense of calm, and there's even some anger involved at the way they take over, and for very few people who are making a living out of this at our expense. The discussion is what did the mopeds do for us? What do they do for the island? Some people really enjoy them. They come out. It's a way to see the island. It's great. But then there's a lot of people who also rent them as kind of like a ride. They come out just for that. Just come out and just rent a moped. And a lot of times we do see things that, being disrespectful. We all have our stories about, the disrespectful moped drivers in large groups taking over, the roads and beeping at each other incessantly. And, we need to get better at that. We need to make this a better place for everybody who lives here and who comes to visit. It's not just the residents who are frustrated with this. They create a sense of road rage. As we mentioned, they require a great deal of our time and energy from our town officials and all of us. But thank you. And we hope anything that we can do to help work through this is, please call me.
Thank you.
Willing to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Willie Wilson.
Hi there, my name is Willie Wilson, and my family's owned a house here since 1978. My late parents were Martha and Bill Wilson, who are quite involved in the community. You have a couple of tasks ahead of you. I mean, the first is to come up with a new set of rules, but another task you have is to figure out how to enforce those rules, or even how to enforce the current rules. And I think we need to think about two questions in regards to enforcement. The first is, how do we establish that a violation occurred? And an earlier speaker had a good idea about mandating GPS to be put into the moped. The second question is, who is responsible for that violation? Imagine if you arrive at Green and you rent a car from Hertz and you drive to Westerly and you drive at 75 miles an hour. Well, I haven't done that, but I know from other people, you will get at least 2 or 3 speeding tickets from cameras located in Charlestown, Rhode Island. Charlestown Town website is proud of the fact that they're red light cameras and speeding cameras, and you are responsible for those tickets. So how do we establish a violation occurred? It could be a GPS system, it could be a camera, it could be photographic evidence. If I take a picture of the 5 mopeds clustered at the end of Cooneymas Road and send it to the police, you can fight that just the way you can fight a red light camera, and you may win if you have a good reason. But it ought to be a simple method of establishing that a violation has occurred and make it as easy as possible for both the police and the community. The second, and I think even more important question, is who is responsible? Remember in my hypothetical, you rented your car from Hertz. What happens? Well, the ticket goes to Hertz. Hertz sends you the ticket and charges your credit card with an administrative fee. This is common all around the world. So only by making the moped owner, be it a fleet owner or an individual, equally responsible for the financial cost of that ticket, will we finally be able to enforce our rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Tilson.
Hi, guys. Nice to see you. My comments are a little bit more administrative than everything you've heard this evening. And it's been great listening personally to what everybody said. Really good points. My point is more administrative and land use. I've always found it difficult when the town issues a license to a moped business to see that the business is advertised off-site or hawkers and peddlers. I hope there's a way, if you're discussing licensing in the future, that you could put reasonable conditions on that license, that the moped activity will take place on the premise where it's issued to only. There will be no remote signage at the marinas or the airport or anywhere else. The signage will only be allowed on the premise where the license is issued to. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Mark. Chuck Hurley.
My name's Chuck Hurley, and again, as others
Could
have
you
said-
say that into the microphone just so we
Okay,
have it?
sure. My name's Chuck Hurley, and thank you for this opportunity. I think everybody's been very respectful. I really want to strongly support the comments of Respect BI. I happen to be the former national CEO of Mothers Against Drunk Driving and 22 years with the National Safety Council, 7 with the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. I would also like to, I think it was Sue made the comment about education. Education is a great thing, but education without enforcement doesn't work. That's not my opinion. That's 50 years of peer-reviewed research. Education about enforcement works very well. I happened to develop the clicker ticket program about 25 years ago. And the ideas of electronic enforcement are particularly good, I think. Might even solve the economic problems as well. And, but I really, I've worked with grassroots groups in 50 states. I've really seen the kind of homework and presentation that Respect BI has done, and we strongly support them. My daughter bought the old Luddy House at 1680 Springs, so that's where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Van Ripper.
Hi, I'm Chris Van Riper, and I was lucky enough to buy that house from Grace. I've been coming to Block Island for 43 years. I remember the Moped movement, which was had a lot of momentum at the time. The one thing I will encourage everyone in this room to think about as we continue to call these accidents, they're not accidents. The statistics are there to show that they are proven and highly predictable events. And my father, who just spoke, worked for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. The constituency that I would like to represent tonight is mothers. I am the mom of 3 teenage boys, and there is a long track record of young people hurting themselves or being killed on this island. And the gentleman who told the story about Hertz won't rent a car to somebody who is less than 24 years old because there's significant scientific research that the brain development doesn't happen in the part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, that allows you to do cost benefit analysis and weigh risk. But we have a lot of young people here on this island who are renting mopeds and not making good decisions. And I'd like to represent their moms tonight, even though I know they can't vote for you because they are incredibly important constituents. And every year their kids are put at risk by the current way that we run the system. Thank you.
Ian Gurry. Did I get that right? Thanks.
Good evening. Ian Gary. So it's been 72 years since my family first stepped foot on Block Island. It's been 62 years since we built our house on Block Island. For me personally, this is my 45th year on the island. I'm a landowner. I pay taxes. I have a 7 and 9-year-old who are relatively new to their Block Island journey. I can think of few issues over those years more consistently and clearly incongruent with the philosophy of this special place than the moped model as currently and historically implemented. I too had a first generation Moped bumper sticker on our junker station wagon, proud of that. I have the utmost empathy and respect for small business owners and business owners in general, and I do not believe that practical regulation and business health are mutually exclusive. Making the island accessible to all need not be at the expense of our collective safety, the safety of our visitors, and our harmonious landscape. The past 2 years have been particularly challenging from an economic and health perspective for many, but it's also been a time for reflection, a time to reflect on priorities, both personal and societal, for people and for the places they occupy. And I think that's what this is as much as anything. It's a critical time to ask what we want for this island and community in the coming years. We've seen the island recently transition away from its dependency on fossil fuels. So we know that big, bold initiatives in the interest of public good are possible. I'm not naive. I know that took a tremendous amount of federal movement, and I know the complexity is something like that, but in a smaller sense, we can achieve that with this initiative. I encourage this town and community to finally take the necessary steps to address the safety and environmental issues, both in terms of emissions and noise pollution associated with the moped industry. And this plan should evolve over time with the needs of this island and with technological advances that will provide enticing off-ramps for business owners to transition away from gas-powered mopeds in general, e-bikes, pedal assisted. So I encourage the town to finally take the steps necessary to put this community on the right path to achieve balance, health, and prosperity for the next generation of residents, visitors, and business owners. Thank you, and for the sake of the people in the back, golf claps only. Thank you.
Judy Auber-Janelle.
Hello, my name is Judy Auberjanel. I'm living on Cunimus now. And thank you all for listening to us tonight. I've been coming to Block Island for 45 years with 4 generations of my family. And the island culture we have come to love and care for and come back again and again and again for is this love, respect for the greenways, respect for island conservation, respect for peace, respect for family memories, respect for our natural resources, and so far as to make a wind farm the first in our country, I think. Offshore wind farm. How about instead of talking about adding violations and adding weight to the jobs of our law enforcement here on this beautiful island, how about phasing out? I'm totally with Ian on this, phasing out the mopeds year by year by year and replacing mopeds with e-bikes so that they can still be in business, because I understand they have a business to run. But I think we can all work together, honestly. I really think it's possible, because the law doesn't need to be running around ticketing people, and they don't want to. I think we can make this work, honestly. It's possible. Let's be the island that makes the change instead of frustratingly repeating history again and again. I look at kids on these bikes and I just hope they make it through the summer. And it hurts. So please, thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
Lisa Laurie.
Oh, my name is Lisa Laurie. Despite my age, I seem to be the new kid on the block. I've only been here 9 years. So I'm sort of going to try and serve as a cleanup bull here, because there's some items, it'll be a little disjointed because there's some items that jogged my thinking process. Given that there's been an increase in the cars and mopeds in general on the island, I have questions about road use and road repair in particular. I've been told that we don't have an asphalt facility on our island, and who's going to pay to repair these roads? I would be in favor of minimizing cars as well as mopeds. The other issue that really resonates with me is how Weldon Way has been co-opted. I used to go down Weldon's Way with my nieces and nephews and go get ice cream, and really it's not a pleasure to do that anymore. And I've witnessed 4 accidents of people who are training on mopeds jam into cars and then give no notification of those car owners. And I think any of us who are in this room probably know you never park your car on Weldon's Way during moped hours. And that's too bad, because we have a lack of parking as it is. And the idea about the cameras I thought was a good one. Maybe we should put up cameras on Weldon's Way so we could document some of these accidents that nobody is reporting. Then are there any teeth for the folks who train and rent these mopeds? They don't look like they're very educated individuals, but are there consequences for renting to inebriated individuals, just as there are consequences for say a bartender who serves an underage person? The perception is that the council is litigation averse, and I think you need to, as a council, put it out there that you're not averse to litigation, and come from a point of strength, so that when you do these negotiations, because I do agree with a lot of what people have said before me, you have teeth as well, that you really mean business. I think the perception out there is not that. And finally, that's it. Thank you very much. And thank you for doing your thankless jobs.
Thank you. Lisa Beck.
thank you for listening. I'm Lisa Beck. I am a relative newcomer, 2005. And I want to thank Sarah for all she has done. And I am actually, what I wanted to say follows up with what the prior Lisa said, which was the idea that the council is averse to litigation. I don't know if I would phrase it that way, but I do sense in listening to all this and in reading things over the years that there's a certain kind of kid gloves that are being worn. What right? I mean, many homeowners on this island and many visitors who enjoy the greenways and the beaches are opposed to the mopeds. Why do we have to tiptoe around? I don't, maybe I'm missing something. Why do the five moped companies have the right to dictate so much? I mean, it's not just they're being on the roads. It's the kind of activity that encourages. It's a whole part and parcel of a side of life, I think, that many of us here would rather not have take over this island. Families, outdoor activities, all of that. I just have always wondered what is everybody so frightened about, or why is everyone so tentative? Where are our rights? Anyway, I thank you for listening, and thank you all.
My name is Amy Jaffe. I've been coming here for Amy Jaffe. I'm just going to make two comments. One is the bottom line of a healthy community is safety. And you've heard over and over again, we're in a non-safe situation. My second comment is about the Hertz rental, which is not a good analogy. When Hertz rents a car, those people are licensed to drive a car. The people who rent mopeds are not licensed to drive a moped, and they are not educated.
Thank you very much. So before you start, if anybody has any other requests to speak, we obviously have some time. So please go to Tom, because at the last time we did this kind of thing, it became one page, one person for a little while there. So think about it now if you want to speak while next speaker is going, and then we can try and wrap it up in a productive way. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Mitch Sider. I am a homeowner here and have been, along with my wife, Lisa, who spoke a moment ago, since 2005. I want to thank the council very much for making the time available. And I also want to thank Sarah Bacon and all of those who have done so much work in Respect BI to bring a lot of information around this issue. There is one aspect that I would like to address, and that's the costs of the rental and use of mopeds. There are direct costs, which we are all familiar with. I know that people have spoken in the past about the demands that moped use and accidents place on the rescue squad. Obviously, there are emotional aspects to that, and there are also financial aspects to it. Those burdens are borne by the first responders, and they're borne by the taxpayers of the town. There are also direct costs in the form of the usage of the roads of the town, the repairs that usage then requires over time. And there are also indirect costs. Mary Anderson spoke about the impact on merchants of swarms of mopeds riding through town. A number of speakers have addressed the effective shutdown of Weldon Way during moped hours for training. Both of those things have impacts on the amount of business that the merchants in this town can do, the sales tax revenue they pay as a result, and of course, their own, and perhaps most importantly, their livelihoods. Their rights to their businesses are just as important, and at least by my lights, more important than the rights of the 5 businesses that run the mopeds. I would add 2 more things, if I might. These are not the only costs, and I am sure that the members of the council and those from whom it may seek advice are aware of other costs as well. The second part is that it is common throughout this country for businesses whose operations may affect towns, governments, and their taxpayers to be required to post bonds for the costs that they impose. I think everybody is probably familiar with the concept that when a company drills a natural gas well, it is responsible for posting what's called a plugging and abandoning bond, so that if the well is closed, the municipality where the well sits is able to access the bond, or the state government in many cases, for the cover the costs of the shutdown. There is no reason that I'm aware of, at least, why the town, if it is inclined to renew the licenses, could not require the posting of cash bonds to cover costs, not only costs that have been documented in the past, but costs that can be anticipated. If the anticipated costs are not incurred, the bond can be returned at the end of the year, and then renewal of a license can be contingent upon posting a bond again. Again, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Tom, any other speakers? Oh, okay. If that is it, I would like to respond a little bit, and I apologize to the last speaker too that I was texting, but actually I'm going to introduce the solicitors. The last thing I would do is to say that we are risk averse, and so to correct that opinion, just so everybody knows, we are now in the Rhode Island Supreme Court about this issue. I mean, this is not a small issue, and maybe as those who aren't fully aware, you can look back at litigation. I don't know that anybody in this room, sorry, Nick and James, anybody in this room really wants to get into litigation and wants to go to court, but we are very willing to, should that be in the case of whether it's mopeds, but really it's about health and safety, and that may be the case in other areas coming up. Nick, can you give a quick recap as to the Supreme Court so that everybody understands what I just said?
Sure, absolutely. And good evening to everybody in the room. Attorney Nicholas Salitro, Town Solicitor's Office. Just by way of background, a few years back during the midst of the pandemic, the council passed a number of ordinances dealing with mopeds. If I can paint with a broad brush, by and large, they dealt with health and safety issues. For instance, requiring certain requirements such as wearing helmets, holding moped operators responsible for the actions of their riders, those renters of the mopeds and the like. It was a number of ordinances. The moped companies filed an action arguing that the town did not have the authority to act for the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens, as shocking as that may seem to many. That was heard in the Washington County Superior Court in 2021, and Judge Taft Carter ruled on it, ruling that under state law, the town is very restricted in their ability to control mopeds, and that's as the law is currently drafted. The town, and rightfully so, filed an appeal of that decision, arguing that they have inherent rights to protect their citizens and act for health, safety, and welfare in all matters, with that particular one dealing with mopeds, and the ability to pass regulations guaranteeing the health, safety, and welfare of riders as well as non-riders, citizens and visitors alike. That is currently on what we call full brief before the Rhode Island Supreme Court. What that means in lay folk terms is the court was interested in hearing a lot more about that issue. It's tough to predict when the court will act, but I imagine some point after the new year, in most likely winter or early spring, we will get a decision from the Supreme Court on that issue, which will give us a lot of insight as to the exact authority that the town council has. I think that might give some clarity to a lot of the comments this evening about what the town is willing to do, with a lens of what they can do under the law as it's currently drafted. And it's a bit of a complex issue, but that's frankly as best I can explain it without boring everybody with legalese. And I hope, Sven, that provides the explanation you were looking for.
Thank you very much, Nick. Really appreciate it. So trust me, we are not litigation averse, but we also would much rather be able to work with all our partners and work with operators and every small business and come to agreement. Any other speakers? Any other questions? With that, Keith, Martha, whoop. Yep. You have another 2 minutes, young lady.
Try not to.
Just introduce yourself again.
Sarah Bacon. I just thought since there is a little more time, I'd take the liberty, if you will, to read the full list of our recommendations, which I submitted to the town council for the benefit of everyone here and listening in.
If you can make it in 2-3 minutes, that would be great.
It's divided into 3 sections. The moped state moped statute is the first section. To rewrite that would allow the town potentially to make license fees for moped operators commensurate with economic cost. I mentioned that earlier. Ban all moped training demonstrations, mentioned that. Raise minimum rental age to 25. Respect BI analyzed data. We analyzed crash data 5 years worth, and it showed that majority of accidents happen with operators, that is drivers under 25. Another recommendation, which I mentioned already, is ban tandem riding. Our analysis also showed that mopeds are more likely to tip over with 2 people on them. And a large percentage of accidents happen with tandem riders. Ensure that the New Shoreham Police Department, this is under enforcement, has sufficient resources to consistently enforce local helmet, dirt road, and unnecessary beeping ordinances, as well as dangerous roadway conduct, and require regular and timely public reporting of moped enforcement data. And finally, for the long term, for the sustainability of our island, Block Island 2050, if you will, align all moped ordinances with the sustainability goals of the 2016 New Shoreham Comprehensive Plan, as well as other sustainability plans in process, for example, Epler Wood, and the long-term priorities of the town's sea level rise committee. Create incentives for or require moped operators to lower CO2 emissions, for example, by transitioning to Class 1 electric bicycles equipped with motors. This was already mentioned. And finally, long-term planning, redesign the roadway signage to clearly promote sharing the road among all users, pedestrians, cyclists, mopeds, and motor vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to everybody who's participated. We really appreciate everybody's engagement and involvement, and we'll continue to update people. Thank you so very much. I will call this to an end. Mark, you want to close?
I think I can say something without getting in trouble. To James and Nick, as you get to know us and we get to know you, I'm Italian and I'm a West Sider. This was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, was just stay here for the last hour plus and not say a thing.
And with that, I'll turn its mic off. Everybody, thank you so much for being here and have a good night. Be safe.